leading high performance teams. Is that good? If that's good, let me hear you. Unmute yourself and just say, well, also sorry, I know the rule says they don't talk, but I would love to interact with people. Is that good? Can we do that?
That's good.
Okay.
Hello,
It's
anyone there?
good.
Good,
Yeah, it's
good.
good. Yeah, we are
It's,
good.
it's good.
Okay, that went off again. All right. So, okay, we're back. Awesome. Beautiful. Okay. All right. So we're looking at this leading high performance teams, and I'm going to try my best not to be too formal and to talk. So we're looking at strategies for building and sustaining excellence, for your team and that. Okay. So I'm sure you can see my screen, right?
Yes, sure. Yes, yes.
All right. Beautiful. Okay. Beautiful. Great. All right. So I'm Dr. Alfred Adeniyi, and I'm sure Otis has shared about me. Quick one about me: I'm known as a high performance catalyst. 23 years industry experience and leadership, and even capacity development. 20 years of management consulting, and then of course 12 active years in executive coaching. And what I do is to help people deal with unsatisfactory performance by coaching, them to shatter their performance ceilings and unleash exponential growth. I'm going to start with this with a quote by Michael Jordan. And Michael said something very powerful. He said, "Talent wins games." He said, "But teamwork and intelligence win championships." Let me say that again. Talent wins what? Games. But teamwork and what? Intelligence win championships. All right? That's very key. I want you to put a note. I want you to underline that. Teamwork and intelligence wins what? Championship. So you cannot win alone. Somebody said, "Together, everyone achieves more." Okay, you need a team to achieve your dream. That is very important. Now, what's a high performance? What's a high performance team, right? A high performance team is defined as a group of people with specific roles and complementary talents and skills, right? um, they have specific roles, so that means that everybody in that team, they're not the same. Okay, they don't do the same thing. You don't replicate unless you know that you're trying to build a substitute or you're trying to have an assistant for a particular role. All right, but they have specific roles and complementary talents and skills. So what they have complements one another, right? Okay, and then this talent and skills are aligned with everybody in that team. They're aligned with and committed to a common purpose. So underlying the word, underlying that common purpose, very key. That is very, very key there. Common purpose. Then they consistently show high levels of collaboration and innovation. So they work together, right? They're always working together. They're always innovating together. They're always brainstorming and thinking about how to produce superior results. And then, of course, they extinguish what we call radical or extreme opinions that could be damaging, because that is very key. You need to understand that look, while you are in a team, when you have a high performance team, you're leading a team of people to achieve something because they have a common purpose, right? Now, that is very important, that every now and then there will be extreme opinions that could be damaging. I'll give you a very practical life example, not even talking about the corporate sector. So I'm the firstborn of a family of five. I've got like four sisters, right? And I'm the only son, right? Now, over time, I've noticed that we've had some extreme opinions that could damage us together as a team. So I'm the only man, I'm leading them, but there were times when there were some opinions, some radical opinions that would damage the team. So A high performance team knows that extreme and radical opinions can damage the common purpose. So what do? You eradicate it as soon as possible. One of the characteristics of a high performance team, ladies and gentlemen, you need to understand that there are about five of them, right? Five of them. Number one is that high performance teams, if you're going to have people who are going to be in a high performance team, you need to understand that they have clear vision and goals all the time. They always have clear vision. So we understand what we're doing. We have a common purpose. Remember that? So there's a shared understanding of objectives aligned with what? The organizational mission. Mission. What are we exactly doing? You understand? Why do we exist? Why are we doing what we're doing? You understand? What's our North Star? Okay, these things are very important. Where are we going? What are we doing? And you know what I love about the things that we teach is that they're practical. So even if you are leading a family, even if you're leading, your wife, or you're leading, your brothers and your sisters, even if you're leading in the workplace, you have to understand that these things are key. Because look, why do we need high performance teams anyway, ladies and gentlemen? Because, like we said here, it's a team that gets the best work done per time. They produce superior results. Superior results. We need high performance teams everywhere in the world, anywhere that we are. So we said number one is that they have clear vision and goals. They know what they know what they want to achieve, and they have established goals, right? Somebody said that a goal without a deadline is a wish. So, of course, you understand that it must be smart. Your goal must be smart. It must be specific, it must be measurable, it must be achievable, it must be realistic, and it must have a time frame, like we're always saying, right? Very, very important. It must be specific. You must know exactly what it is you're trying to achieve. You must be able to measure it. You must be able to achieve it. Your capacity must be able to carry what you're trying to achieve. It must be realistic. And of course, it must have a time frame. So, whatever it is that you're setting goals on, it must have a date. Okay. Number two is that there must be trust and psychological safety. Yes. If there is no trust, there is no team. I'll say that again. If there's no trust, there is no team. Psychologically, people must feel safe. You need to create an environment where the team members they feel safe to take risk and express their ideas. So there's what we call participatory management there, right? In that team. So if you're going to build a team that's high performance, remember, number one is that they must have clear vision and goals. Number two is that there must be trust and psychological safety. And number three, there must be effective communication. There must be open and honest and timely, open, honest, and timely information being exchanged for time. People must communicate. They must be able to communicate effectively. As the leader downstream, because look, one of the organizational gaps that people have in any place is that we discovered one of the major organization gaps is communication. People don't communicate well across board, and that can affect the performance and the productivity of that organization. So it's very important that you understand that. Even you as a person, if you're not properly communicated to, you will do the wrong thing. Now, of course, I'm sure you heard about that particular test, in that particular icebreaker that we do sometimes, where people go ahead and do what? We call it the chain of communication, and you say something to somebody, and then you allow it to go around the whole room. By the time it gets back to you, you discover the whole thing has been distorted. So there must be effective communication. What does it mean for something to be effective? It means that it is it will not necessarily totally 100% perfect, but at least it must be as perfect as can be. All right. That is very, very, very important. Next up is accountability and ownership. All right. Everybody must take ownership of the results. Everybody. There must be what we call individual and collective responsibility for results. Everybody must collectively agree and individually say, you know what? I'm accountable to the team. I'm ready to work with the team. Now, remember this, that is very important. Now, the next one is collaboration and diversity. I want to say this that a team that cannot bond cannot build. The team that cannot bond cannot build. Hello, are you there? The team that cannot bond cannot build. So it's very important to understand that if you are going to build something sustainable, there must be collaboration. People must work together. Remember, we talked about diversity also here now, that we should leverage the diverse skills. So there's specific roles and of course different talents and skills that are being deployed in the team. All right, very important. Have you seen or have you watched a movie where you've seen commandos go to war before? What do you see there? You see them specialists in various, you got the snipers, you got the demolition experts, and everybody's working together. And you've got the leader, who is the tactical and strategic leader, who is the one who sits down to plan everything, and they are just good at what they do. And then you see some of them, maybe an engineer who's able to fix any truck, drive any helicopter, who's able to drive any car, or hot wire anything. We've got different people with different skills, and then they must be able to, collaborate together. And guess what? If you're going to have a high performance team, that you must drop issues of ethnicity, you must drop all those gaps that affect you, your color, your beliefs. Sometimes when you're going to build a team, you have a team that that comes cuts across religion because you have a common purpose. That's what you're working on. Now, if you are a leader, if you're going to lead a high performance team, you need to set clear expectations for time. You need to define the roles, the responsibilities, and the performance standards. Tell people this is what I'm expecting. All right, very important. I was watching, I was watching an anime. Sorry, I was watching an anime the other time. I was watching an anime the other time, and it was so interesting. The guy was is a leader of the best what do you call it now? The best military, yeah, the best military in that part. In fact, in the world, not top, top team. Guess what? This guy plays games all day. Borrows money from his team members and all that. And his second in command, would drag him. I mean, literally drag him. Commander, will you stop playing games? Commander, will you do this? But you see, when there is danger, this guy switches. Oh my goodness, he switches. So the first time somebody came on board, she was disappointed. She was thinking, you know what, this guy, how's he like this? Behaving like a boy and all those kind of things. And guess what happened? All of a sudden, when war came, when trouble came, this guy switches into his uniform and then tells the lady, you know what? I've got only one clear expectation from you. In fact, let me show you what it is. And then he goes on to demonstrate by killing a very gigantic, monster. And when she sees it, she's like, what? How do I surpass that? And he said, that's exactly what I need you to show. That's my expectation. That's my performance standard. That's a rating. That's it there. And guess what? The equipment that sets the standard must be precise. So if you are the leader and you're telling your people to do something, understand that you must be doing it. Now, notice I didn't say you must do it. I'm saying you must be doing it. It must be something that you've been doing before. Before you can ask people to do something, and you need to understand that it's critical that you must have been doing it. Number two is you must foster a culture of trust. Very important. Like we said, build. Sorry about that. My network went off again. Where did you catch my last discussion so that I can go on? Sorry, can everybody hear me?
Yeah, sure, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, 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 beautiful. So where did I stop? Where did you hear me the last time so I can continue from there before the network went off?
Yeah. I come
Fostering
in.
culture of trust.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you. So let me go on with that. Thank you, Prince James. Thank you. All right. So first, so I said it's important that we understand that we need to build psychological safety and encourage vulnerability. Now, people must be able to trust. So let me tell you something. When you have a team of people where somebody tells you something and you go ahead and share with the other person, you are disrupting the trust of that, of that team, whether they like it or, and then you must ensure that, look, this practical wisdom, these things are very simple, but sometimes we break them, right? You must ensure that the culture of gossip must be broken. People, would disrupt teams because of gossip. So you need to stop that. You need to break it off to ensure that there's no gossip. There's nothing like, grapevine stuff. If people give you information, let it die there, right? Let it die there. Now, if somebody tells you something about somebody else, it's important that you call the person, bring them, let them sit with you, and then make sure that you trash that matter there. All right. So make sure that everybody can be vulnerable. They can, you be empathetic as a leader. Empowerment and autonomy is number three. You need to delegate authority and promote self-organization. In other words, if you don't empower your team, so the other day I was having to speak to a group of bankers somewhere, and we discovered that because they were not being given power, they were not being delegated, with authority, they were feeling overwhelmed and they felt hopeless and helpless. All right. So there were things they were not able to do. Why? Because the organization didn't empower them to do it. So it's important for you to delegate authority and promote self-organization. Help them, do stuff. Help them to work. Give them everything they need, and then, if you have to show them, but then leave them alone. All right. Effective communication, of course, actively listening. That's very important. Most leaders speak more than they listen. That's a big weakness for a leader. All right. It's important that you listen more than you speak. Constructive feedback means that what you're giving them must help them. You don't give them feedback that will damage them. And then make sure you're transparent. If you're going to lead a high performance team, you must have these things. You must be transparent. And then, of course, coaching and development. I would never joke with this. Make sure that you're mentoring them, you are building their skills, and you're supporting their career growth. Everybody that passes through you, that comes into your team, must be mentored. They must be developed, and these things are very, very, very important. All right. Um, of course, there are different leadership styles, so you need to know yours. There's the transformation leadership, which where you get to, motivate your team to exceed your expectations and drive innovation. So if you're a transformational leader, what that means is that you're always doing that. So I've got a leader like that. He's a transformational leader, right? We've got democratic leaders, of course. This ones, what they do is they encourage participation and collaborative decision making among the team members. So they are the ones that do, all this kind of thing. So yeah, I do this. So let me see. The situation that this will come up will be, maybe you're leading. For example, you can decide that, okay, this is what I want to do. I want them to all participate. I want them to all share. Let's brainstorm together. Let's put the things together. So yeah, so I use this a lot, to a large extent. When it comes to my work with leaders, I do transformation leadership. When it comes to family, I do democratic leadership. Now, servant leadership is another one where you focus on meeting the needs of the team members, and then you're helping them, develop and perform. That is what pastors do, if you know what I mean. Coaching leadership, identifies the strengths and weaknesses in the team members and provide guidance for improvement. Now, so let me confess. So I used to really do this for my wife, and then I discovered that you don't coach your wife, you love your wife. Very important. Yeah, there are people you should coach, and there's those people you should love. All right. So I don't know whether you know what I'm saying. And then there's situational leadership, where you adapt your leadership approach based on the team's development level and then specific circumstances. So at that point in time, you look at the level of your team members, and then you start to build them from there upwards. Let's look at the model of a high performance team. All right. There's one thing here that's missing a bit, but I'm going to get to add it to it when I'm talking, because it's very important. Very, very important. All right. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, but you on the other side here, you see 5, but there's 6 of them. All right. So number one, if we're looking at the framework here, we're looking at that of common purpose. If you're going to look at the key elements that contribute to high performance teams, understand this, and never forget this, that these guys have a common purpose. Okay, they have a shared vision and goal. All right, and that is what aligns them. So every time that they're doing what it is that they're doing, it's very important that you let them understand that, if you're going to have a high performance team, you have got to always share the purpose. Very important. You keep on sharing that purpose. You keep on sharing the vision. You keep on sharing the goals, and so that they can understand it. All right. You bring them back to the board every quarter. Do that every month. Do something, and of course, you've got clear roles. Excuse me. Apologies. Okay, yeah. All right. So they got a common purpose, and then of course, clear roles, well-defined responsibilities and expectations. You need to let them understand what is it exactly, what does this person do? This team member, what exactly do they do? It needs to be clear. So I'll share a joke with you. So years ago, I remember one of my leaders used to say, to crack a joke. He says, if I don't establish it, I don't define the responsibility and expectations clearly, then I don't know who to kill when a problem comes up. When I want, what he was saying to us really wasn't about killing people. It was just about the fact that, look, I know who to deal with, I know who to demand accountability from. And that's the way it is. So don't just have an organogram, ladies and gentlemen. You must have something that is clearly defined so you know who does what. Okay. Even you as a leader, what are you doing part time? Accepted leadership, understand that respected guidance, you must create that, the respect guidance that empowers team members. I'm learning a lot over the years. In my 45 years so far, I've seen a lot of things all over and I'm learning. And one of the things I've learned that is so profound for me is that when there is no respect, people will not follow you. All right. So that means that you must be able to tolerate you must be able to tolerate a high level of criticism. You must be able to understand that, look, when you're going to lead people who will be high performing people, individuals, you have to understand that they will sometimes misbehave. And then you need to learn how to, you know, accept some level of criticism, a level of what I call it, pressure from them. Because some of them, listen to me. If you're leading a team that's not better than you in what they do, then you're not leading well. Okay, but so you must be able to build that respect into the things that they do. They must be able to respect you. And one of the things I've seen is that love is a key thing. If you truly care about people, they will listen to you. Zig Ziglar said that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So that's very important. And of course, effective processes, you must be able to streamline your workflows. What exactly are you doing? Who is doing what part time? What's your decision making model? Your methods. What I'm saying is, if you're not around, who takes the decision? Who signs the checks? Who does this? Who does that? These things are very critical. Who will make the decision in case there is a gap? Who steps into the gap? This is a very important. And then last but not the least, or well, the second to the last is solid relationships. Okay, so people must trust one another. All right, you need to create a climate of what? Create a climate for what? For cooperation. All right, very important. If you look to your right, look at the high performance team model. Let me run through that. Your common purpose is the reason for the cooperation. Your clear roles is a strategy for cooperation. And then you see independence and cooperation, of course. And then you see accepted leadership is a structure for cooperation. So who speaks to who is accountable to who you know reports to who. And then effective process is a method for cooperation. Solid relationship is a climate for what? For cooperation, where you need to start building powerful relationships so that people can work together. All right. And then of course we've got the last but not the least, which is excellent communication. That is the means of cooperation. Let me tell you something. Communication is the blood of any relationship. Communication is the lifeline of every relationship. If you're not effectively communicating, if it's not being clear, there's no clarity, there's no yeah, competence in your communication. There's no confidence in your communication. All these things it will affect the way people hear you, and that's very important. What are the strategies for building high performance teams? Let's run it quickly. Um, you need to select the right talent and ensure effective integration. So that's the stage and the phase we call the team formation and onboarding. All right. Um, when it comes to team building, there are several stages of it. We're not talking about that tonight, but what we're talking about is that it's important that you select the right talent. Okay. So some people go as and they wait as much as 1 year to look for the right team member because it's not just about, you need to understand. Somebody was interviewing the Navy SEALs, excuse me, and one of the things he asked the leader of the Navy SEALs is, what do you look for? What do you look for? And that gentleman was able to. So you need to understand, you need to specify what exactly you're looking for, in a team member that you want to recruit. So you must select the right talent and ensure that there's an effective integration that they're able to integrate well into the team. All right. And of course, you sit with them and then you set the goals and then you create alignment. So establish smart goals and then, of course, cascading objectives. In other words, they are, moving into one another. All right. So those objectives are easy to implement, they're easy to achieve, they're easy to understand. Then, of course, you develop the team norms, you create the shared values, and you establish ground rules. Somebody said that in a city or a town or a nation where there is no law, there is no sin. In other words, everybody can do whatever they want to do. So, but if you establish the ground rules, you're able to know what exactly it is that you need to do. Of course, next is you need to learn to promote diversity and inclusion in the team. So there are going to be lots of perspectives. People have different perspectives. Your work is to be able to distill that and leverage on it to actually, move towards innovation. What's innovation? Innovation is taking ideas together and then using it to develop, what it is that you have on ground before, building on existing knowledge. That's what innovation is. And of course, my favorite, performance management, where you are reviewing, you're doing you're reviewing your work, you're doing regular reviews, and then you're getting 360-degree feedback systems. You create that so that you can actually have feedback all over. All right. So when it comes to you doing some things that has to do with organization, sometimes when we're doing change management and organization development, consulting, we go into the market, we go into the market spaces, not just feedback from within, but also outside. That's the 360 degree feedback. Right. How do you foster collaboration? Very important in your team is you need to have team building activities. So do things, go for lunch, go for stuff outside the office, outside the structure of where your team works. Some people's teams are in church, some people's teams are in the mosque, some people's teams are somewhere else. You need to take them out so they can bond, and you remember, a team that does not bond cannot build. All right. And then there's cross-functional integration, where you break down silos, you have units, and then you encourage diverse perspectives. You let people, share what it is that they have. And then the more you're able to share, the more you're able to accept one another. Because see, it goes beyond just forgiveness. Like somebody once said, a wise man said, it goes beyond forgiveness, it goes to forbearance. Forbearance means that you accept those people. You accept both their strengths and their weaknesses. You accept them for who they are, and you're willing to build together. That's very important. So, that's very important. Collaborative tools. You should understand that at this time that we're in, it's important that we create digital platforms that help us facilitate real-time communication, and of course, that help us to work and do better things. So that needs to be set there. If you're going to have a high performance team perform, then you need to equip them with the tools and the platforms they need to do. Of course, um, you need to involve your team members in key decisions so that they can that increases buy-in. If you are taking decisions without involving your people, guess what happens? You will have a disintegrated team, where everybody's feeling like they're not useful, and that's very very bad. And of course, you must allow for knowledge sharing. So create systems to document and then to encourage documentation, and then of course to share the expertise. How do you overcome challenges? Because challenges will come. When you see somebody that's building something massive, somebody who's achieving things, there will always be challenges. I mean, if you've seen some of the best bands, some of the best teams, some of the best football teams, some of the best teams in the world, there will always be challenges. So um, you need to build resistance to change. I'm sorry, tackle resistance to change. Um, to overcome challenges, you must implement change management strategies, like I was saying, and communicate the benefits clearly. Let them understand that look, change is the only constant, but it also works. It's very important because there are some team members that you discover that they become a cake and so stiff, they have a fixed mindset and it affects everything. So growth mindset as against what? Fixed mindset. So what you do as a team is to make growth your goal. Make growth your goal. If you make growth your goal, it affects and it changes everything. And of course, you need to deal with the lack of engagement. All right. People must learn to connect work to purpose, and then to recognize contributions and then provide growth opportunities. You should do that. Ensure as a leader that is you so help them to connect to their work, to their purpose, recognize their contributions, and then provide growth opportunities for them. That will help them to engage. Then the skill gaps, identify the training needs once you notice, occasionally do that. It's called a skill gap analysis, right? Thank God for YouTube and Google. You're gonna ask for a skill gap analysis and template, and it's gonna give it to you. So identify training needs, implement development programs for them. You remember that the team that you don't train, the team that you don't build, that's what you're going to get. The results they will give will be at best mediocre. Remember, that's the way it is. And encourage peer learning. Peer learning. So help them to grow together, put them together, give them projects, let them work, and let them learn. And then help people to deal with interpersonal conflicts. So establish conflict resolution protocols and always promote open communication. Don't allow grapevine to thrive. Make sure that people, speak openly and all those things. And then there will always be the challenge of unclear expectations. So, but what you need to do is to always keep on doing it, keep on doing it. Define the roles, the responsibilities, and then the success metrics, with the team input. If you're going to measure your success, you have to ensure that you know what your productivity metrics are, understand what your quality metrics are, your team health metrics. You need to establish that. You need to know that. You need to also understand your business impact metrics, and then, of course, your continuous improvement. What are the key takeaways that I want to share with you tonight as I round up? Is that leadership is crucial. Okay. Your leadership style and your behavior will directly impact your team performance. If you're that kind of person who's always getting angry, you're always blowing storm, blowing sea, all the things, it will affect your team performance. So you got to be more empathetic and all that. So the way how you lead matters. So choose a leadership style that that is effective. All right. Trust and communication. We said that these are key. Psychological safety and open communication, they form the foundation of high performance. Clear goals and roles. We're saying that when you define the objectives and you define the responsibilities, that would help you create alignment and accountability. People will know exactly what it is they're doing, and the team is performing very well. Of course, when there's continuous improvement, there's regular feedback, effective, constructive feedback, and people can adapt with what they're learning. They're adapting to it, they're changing it, they keep on learning, they keep on developing, they make growth their goal, right? What happens is that they achieve their goals, you achieve your goals as a high performance team, and then you can sustain your excellence. So I want you to start implementing these principles today, ladies and gentlemen, to transform your team's performance and achieve exceptional results. Thank you very much. That is my WhatsApp and that is my mail. And of course, if you want to get me on social media, just look for Alfred Atiba. Look for Alfred at Denny Atiba and you get me.